First things first, men with definite purpose command respect and attention at all times. There's a real great pull to somebody that is sure of themselves and what they're doing and is on a mission, compared to the guy that is unsure of himself, unsure of his mission, doesn't know what he's doing, is sort of stumbling through life. You see it in crowds. If somebody knows where they've got to go, they've got a train to catch, they cut through the crowd, people move out the way for them. However, if that person is still deciding where they need to go, everyone barges and moves past them. It's the same in life. So if you know where you're going, if you know your purpose and what you want to do, even that doesn't have to be your whole life purpose, but if you've got an aim with your life, you become a man that's much easier to respect, and you see it. One thing you probably don't have is knowing your own origin story. This is incredibly important. So being able to tell someone very quickly in 1 to 2 minutes the best version of you, why I should talk to you, why I should listen to you, why I should care about your story at all, what you're striving to achieve, and it should be practiced and rehearsed. So you can tell me this in 1 to 2 minutes that takes you from just saying hello to me thinking, okay, there's a guy who's on a mission that gives me something I stand to gain. You always want to drop in a nugget. It's like a secret golden nugget that sparks the interest of the other person. I'll give you an example of this, and Bill saw this as well. It's a very good networking technique. When we were in, me and Bill were working in Courtier Mall, and a guy came up and approached me. He knew the channel, and I said hello. He introduced himself, and he dropped a little nugget of saying something about being adopted here by a very wealthy family, very well connected. If we ever needed anything, they're the most connected in Bangkok. That takes somebody, it doesn't have to be directly something like that, but that then takes you from just being some random guy that's approached me to now somebody I follow on Instagram and maintain a relationship with, because he's dropped a little nugget that makes me think, okay, worthwhile knowing. He likes the channel, seems like a decent guy, presented himself well, he's a DJ at the top nightclub in Bangkok. Oh, and he's super well connected. Boom. That connection's made, that can be nurtured, that relationship will now grow. And the reason why is because he showed me very quickly who he was, somebody that I could trust, that gave me a little bit of a compliment, and also showed that he could be useful to my life. That's what you need to cultivate in this origin story. You need to figure out who you are, what's the purpose of yourself and your meaning, be able to present that very quickly, and also know what you have to offer other people. And that's going to make you somebody that can be easily remembered. This, I would take a note of this. Write it down on a piece of paper. By the next time we do a call, you should have an origin story. Spend 1 to 2 minute origin story that you guys write down, that you have in your back pocket, you can pull out any time at a networking event. This is going to help you massively in becoming someone that's taken seriously, because most young guys can't do this. You ask them who they are and what they do, and they're blah, 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 blah. They don't know how to say it. Next thing, being in enviable shape and dressing well. The first time I ever had a networking connection that really excelled my life was the one with Hamza. And the reason I met Hamza was because I was in incredible shape. I was in incredible shape. I had a purpose in Koh Samui, something that I was working on. We ended up fighting in the Muay Thai gym. And I was somebody, the reason why we spoke was because I looked incredible, and that was one of his aims as well, was to look incredible as a person. So don't underestimate how much of a difference it makes to be in elite level shape, top 1% shape, 6-pack abs, incredible shoulders. Looking incredible is a very, very easy way to network, because most people, if they've got money or power, that normally takes up a much larger percentage of their life. So they're often a little bit envious and a little bit jealous of guys that have the time to put into their bodies. If you break that down by being very friendly and upfront about your methods, it's a very easy way to talk to powerful people. I've used this in gyms around the world, high-level gyms, health clubs, because you meet the guy who's maybe got all the money, the fucking Lambo outside, but he just can't quite get his physique together. And you sit in the sauna and he's a bit jealous and shit. He just goes, fucking hell, how do you look like that? And then you have a way of talking to someone that makes them feel at ease, and you start to help them, and you run them through, and you've now become useful to a person. For anyone in this call, this is a great place to start, because it's your sort of ground zero before you need to have any wealth or any other connections. It's just something that you take care of, the pride in your body. Also, dressing well. Just do your utmost at the start. As you become more successful, you can start to change your style, but at the start, dress like the person you want to be perceived as. If you want someone to spend money with you, if you want someone to invest money with you, always be that person that looks like you're worthwhile to spend money with, that you're somebody that I would want to see again. If I see you and I like the way you dress and your style, instantly there's a bit of a connection there, because I can be like, oh, if I hang around with this guy more, I can find out a bit more about how he dresses, and then I'll look better. So that's just a couple of things, absolute basics: your smell, the way you dress, your grooming, all of that. Just dial it in, because there's no quicker way to put someone off than having these things out, and these don't even let you get through the door because your breath smells bad, or you have BO and you haven't shaved or something like that. So at the start, although it seems trivial, this stuff's very, very important. You will attract to yourself people who harmonize with your own philosophy of life, whether you wish it or not. So figure out what that is, basically. Figure out what your philosophy of life is. Figure out what it is in people that you like and the people that you like having around you and how you like people to act when they're around you. And they're the people that will be attracted into your life. If you're a super disciplined, high achiever and you believe a certain thing, you're going to attract more of those people. If you're a little bit in between the lines, you don't quite know what you want, you might let anybody wander into your life and end up making not as good connections. First key to networking when you actually are at an event or you've met somebody that you would like to make an impression with. So, for example, I was on a boat on the weekend with Mike Thurston and a few other guys, Max Wyatt, Mike Thurston. I've met Max before, James Blackwell, who I really wanted to meet, actually. James, knew about him through Iman Gadzi and his stuff he's done with his marketing. He just seemed like a guy I would get on with. And this is where the actual face-to-face interactions become very, very useful, because now you found yourself, and you guys will find this as well, you find yourself on a boat with someone you admire and want to speak to. You don't want to mess it up. You don't want to seem like a super fan. You don't want to seem like a loser. You want to build a friendship. You're trying to build a relationship there. You don't necessarily want anything from them, but you'd like to have this person in your circle at some point. The first key to this is finding common ground. If you have nothing in common with the person you're talking to, or you're just asking questions about business, you become very boring to talk to, and they instantly will dismiss you as someone that's just like part of the fan group of people. So it's very important when you start talking to somebody to open up and quickly establish similar interests. The best way to do this, if you know you're going to meet someone, is to research and know what they like beforehand. But also another way to do it is just notice what they gravitate towards talking to and indulge them in those topics, compared to bringing them away or heavily disagreeing with them. If that you don't have to totally agree with everything someone says, but don't try and make that barrier there straight away, especially if you want to speak with someone. Ask people questions that are easy to respond to and spark interest about something that they've done. This is the same on Instagram. If you ask questions that are very easy to reply to, rather than sending out a big long message, a big ask for someone, often the people that you want to speak to, they have limited time. And if they've spent a second to open your message, that you want it to be easy to reply to, so that they can give you advice and feel good about replying. Because one of the things, high-level people will often feel a little bit bad for not replying to everyone. It's a constant drain of their time, and people will often message them saying, why are you not replying to me? This happens to me all the time. And obviously I want to give value and I want to message everyone back, but you don't have time to do it. So the people who get replies are the ones with good questions, easy to answer, and I can quickly reply, and it makes me feel like, oh good, I've given someone a decent reply, they're happy about it, and it didn't take me too long. Often high-level individuals are on guard, so you need to be careful about the questions that you ask to begin with, and you should always feel, your aura should always feel like you don't need anything. I should talk to you, if you're a high-level individual, and not feel like you want anything from me. That should be the furthest thing from your mind when you first start this conversation. Let's have an enjoyable conversation. Let's see where it leads us. These people are very much on guard. So any delving into secrets, asking too many questions, it's just going to be red flags all round, and the person's going to just naturally not want to speak to you so much. I would also recommend you stroke their egos subtly, and don't be overtly intimidating. So drop any of if you've got a bit of a bad man persona that you like to put on, make sure you drop this around people that are at a higher level than you. This doesn't mean kissing ass. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say. It means don't be overly threatening to somebody's ecosystem if they're the man. You have to be careful with these dynamics. If you go in, and I only know this because I'm the worst at this. I have an aura and a confidence around me that I've used in the past, and it's put people on edge straight away, and it's actually turned them against me. Even though I've done nothing wrong, they're intimidated by my presence. So for me, I have to tone it down when I'm in rooms that I think I could benefit from actually having these people trust me, because there's doors that can be opened. You have to make sure you're not too in people's faces. In regards to stroking the ego very subtly, I did this with Mike Thurston. Walked straight up to Mike. Hey Mike, love the channel. Been watching you for ages, man. Love what you're doing with content. Think you're really innovative with the stuff that you're doing in your creation team. Instantly, you can't have somebody who doesn't like you when you open them up with something like that to start with. You're opening them up by complimenting their work, which makes people very easy to talk to. And then we had a good chat. Just start chatting with each other. I do this with most people. It's always important to stroke the ego, especially for guys that are higher up than you. That's what they're looking for, even if they don't want to admit it. I'll admit it myself. If someone strokes my ego, I'm much more likely to speak with them. It's just how we're inclined. There's very few people on this earth that have zero ego. Here we go. what I see most people get wrong, that I've noticed in networking situations with people trying to network with me, is they're talking about stuff I don't give a fuck about. So men have common interests, things that we like to talk about. In high level circles, these are the following: women, sex, women basically sex, paying less tax and making money, and sport and leisure. Sport and leisure can be, if someone's interested, for me obviously, if you talk to me about boxing or movies, you'd be much more likely to get a good conversation with me than if you were to talk to me about football, because I don't like football at all. But for most people, these are the areas that networking is done at. Networking is not overtly an exchange of value. It's finding out what circles you want to mix in as friendships. All good networking starts as friendships, and then we do things with our friends. So when you go to make a friend normally, the first thing you do is look for common ground. You talk about women, you talk about paying less taxes or making more money, and you talk about the things that you're interested in. Whereas when people go and network, they get it all wrong, and they think they can only ask business questions and talk about business, and it's boring. So what I would say is make sure you start all networking conversations as an opening to a friendship, the same way you would with any person. Find some common ground and have a good time at an event. So when I'm at events, often events can be a lot of people wanting to talk about business, which for the guys that are like me is tiring. So if I find another guy and I feel he's a little bit drained, then I can make a little inside joke about that. Oh, come on, let's talk about the good stuff. What girls are you seeing at the moment? So, stuff like that. Maybe not that direct question, but you want to alleviate the stress. After a conversation, understand that people will walk away from a conversation with you feeling a certain way. These are a couple of things to look out for. Did you give energy or did you take it? People receive energy when they answer. I believe that they can see you lighting up and you gaining information from them when you ask questions that they can answer, and you seem to take in the knowledge. That gives them energy because they feel like they're giving you something, and it's quite a compliment to listen intently to what somebody's saying. Make sure you don't do this. I'm very careful, especially when talking about women. Let somebody else lead the conversation. Don't squeeze too many secrets from them. If you feel like they're starting to say something they don't want to say, don't let them say it or change the conversation. If you squeeze secrets from someone or make them behave in a way that they didn't want to behave by the questions you asked them, it might seem fine at face value, but they're not going to want to see you again because they didn't like the way that they acted when they were with you. And you can control a lot of this by the questions you ask and the way you take conversations. Men who are successful always seek the company of others who are successful, and misery loves company. So if you're fucking failing in life, you can guarantee the people that mostly hang around together that are failing, that is because they're all failing together. And successful guys want to network with other successful guys. So being a successful person helps you massively in networking. If you're somebody who's not successful and you've got a complete lack of abundance in your life, you're going to find it a lot more difficult to network with other people than if you have some abundance in your life, because people can feel the aura. I'm going to go into how I network personally and analyze some of the conversations and the ways I've networked with high-level individuals, and break down my Instagram sort of messaging with a couple of these guys. But these are just a few of the people I've networked with that I could message on my phone right now. I've either got their personal number or private Instagrams, and I keep a level of conversation there. So Justin, Sartorial, Mark and the team from Strike It Big, How to Beast, Iman Gadzi, James Blackwell, Max Wyatt, Rob Libsett. Just a few. I've got way more. First Man, obviously. Hamza's in the phone as well. He messaged me recently. But I've got a decent amount of people I've networked with, and I'll show you how I do it. So, breakdown of interactions. Let's go for the one you're probably all most interested in, is Iman Gadzi. First things first, he saw my... Where's my mouse gone? He saw my MMA fight, and he congratulated me on Instagram. So, that's your first lesson right there. Do things that make other people come to you. Your best tool for networking, which I'm going to go into massively, is your personal brand. It is the things that you are doing. It is the mastery of your business. It's the mastery of your life, pushing yourself to a new level. That's what inspires other people. That's what makes network connections happen. But let's say, for example, you do get somebody reach out. This is also very, very easy to fuck up. You don't normally get a message congratulated on a fight like this and then end up at somebody's house. There's a certain way of doing it. I sent him this. So I said I was an admirer and I maintained relationships. So commenting on stories, little message here and there. I then needed some advice. And I sent, this was part of my message, not the full message. I don't normally ask anyone for advice, and if you're very busy, you do not have to reply at all. I understand completely. But if you have a minute, and then I asked him some questions that I knew he would find easy to answer. One of the key parts of that message is always tell someone they don't need to reply if they're too busy. I can't tell you how stressful it is once you start to get get noticed online. The amount of people that demand your time and expect replies is absurd. And a lot of people will just start following up a message, you read it, didn't reply, blah, blah, blah. And it's just the easiest way to turn someone off. So I always make sure if I have any sort of question for someone, I say, look, you do not have to reply to this if you get time, if you want to. Because then they don't feel obligated. And because of that, they like you. And then they reply. So I told him this. He gave me a WhatsApp number. He said, send your question again through to WhatsApp. I sent it, waited a week. Didn't hear anything back from him. He'd read the message, didn't fucking get bitchy about it and try and send him another message. I just left it and waited. He then offered me advice. He sent me about 15 minutes worth of voice notes, giving me exact breakdowns on what I needed to do to improve my business and my YouTube. I then took his advice as quickly as possible and sent him proof of me doing what he told me to do and telling him how it has made me better, how updating him on the progress. This is really, it's a real compliment to somebody. When you take their advice, you make them feel very, very good, especially if their advice then works and you show them that. So that's one of the easiest things you can do. That deepened the relationship and allowed us to meet in person when I was in Dubai. Simple as that. And I'll go into a little bit about our networking when I was in Dubai, but that's in a later slide. So how did I do this when nobody even knew who I was 18 months ago? How in the last 12 months have I met with so many millionaires around the world? Personal brand, number one cheat code to networking, number one cheat code to business, number one cheat code to life right now in this current era. Personal brand is not an option, it is a 100% necessity. No matter what business you do anywhere in the world, personal brand will 10x your results in everything that you do. People can already see who you are. They stand to gain exposure by engaging with you. They can relate to your mission, see how well you guys will get on before they meet you. Also, as a personal brand and a public figure, people feel safe around you because if you do anything bad, you've got a lot to lose. So your personal brand becomes your armor. It becomes your social proof of people saying, okay, well, this guy's obviously trusted and respected, so we can do business with him, we can talk to him without having any worries. All of my relationships, the good ones that I've made, bar Hamza, were made through personal branding. Hamza was right location, right time, right physique, which we're going to get down and nailed based on the first stuff, but all the others are personal brand. And then knowing the fundamentals of actually networking with someone when you get the door opened.